I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Here is our weekly watch list video. Enjoy. So coming into the week, first off, what a crazy market that it's very difficult to trade here as of late, just from the tariff news, tariff this, tariff that, which is what I posted on Instagram a couple days ago. And it's hard from the fact of, yes, volatility is great, right? You want volatility as a trader, but at the expense of, okay, 5 minutes from now it'll say, oh, the EU is making great talks with the United States and tariffs are going to be paused. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, talks fell through. So it's like such a news-driven cycle that we're in right now that makes it very difficult because those swings are so drastic. And we just absolutely crushed premiums last week as the volatility was priced in so expensive and we absolutely did nothing. So regardless if you traded calls, regardless if you traded puts, they got absolutely destroyed on both sides. From a technical perspective here, we actually formed this lower high here. We confirm this lower high. All we do is come up, we form this lower high, and then the question becomes here is, do we trigger below this low and make this a lower high for a move lower back into 16,617.25? Or does this become the daily 3-bar play or the weekly 3-bar play for then a move that triggers us and trades us up into like 19,613 in this 20,000 area? So very crucial piece here is below 18,136 for the downside, and anything within this prior days or prior weekly range, ideally strength up over like 19,000, watching long up into this 2135 area, which still we could come up here and tag this and still set a lower high off of this area right here. So keeping this on watch here on NQ. I want to see what we end up doing after confirming this lower high, rolling over and making now it's basically an indecision bar from the term and the trend structure here, because we have this lower high and we have this lower low, but does this trade lower or does this just put in a lower or a higher low right here that triggers and trades us up to that? So keeping that on watch here this week for NQ. But like I said, what a crazy adventure it has been. These premiums are just so ridiculously expensive. And then Apple is going to be the first one here. Now, when you look at the difference between Apple and QQQ, let's go back to QQQ. QQQ, and I showed NQ the first time, did not make a new high over this last week's bar. Now, on the flip side, what did Apple do? So if you look at Apple, Apple did make a new high over last week's bar, actually a significant new high over last week's bar, which makes me think that this could be this potential breakdown below here for something that's going to do something like this and then boom, back and rally up higher into these regions right here. So for me, I'm very interested in this long move here, and if we go into the daily chart, anything over this high and really this high right here, I think we have room to trade back up into this gap here. And let's go in here and turn on default. So really the main watch is over 199, and if you look at 199, reject, 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 support, rejection, rejection. So it's a critical region here. And if we can get some sort of green bar that looks something like this, and it breaks above this region, I do think we spike up. And we do have room up into 212, which from $200 up into 212, very like a 5-6% move to cover this range right here. So something that is on watch here. We formed this 3-bar play here, and actually let me zoom out here. Form this 3-bar play, nice follow through here. Now we're coming to try to set a potential higher low off of this prior pivot right here, which is nothing more than a trend structure that looks like this. So definitely keeping that one on watch here. Again, back over 199.09 is going to be critical. You can see just how important, if you just drew a box here, you just see how important this box is. So waiting on that. If we can get that strength to follow through, then definitely eyeing a long here on Apple. And NVIDIA, the one thing that I question about this is they had the news of like the $5.5 billion hit from getting one of their chips banned, and they won't be able to get a license to be able to sell it to China. So part of me thinks that maybe this is just one of those sell the news events here where it gets sold, right? But then potential for this to just rally after it's shaking out some weaker hands here after that. And who knows? There might be news that comes out saying, hey, maybe they get the license and they're able to do sell those chips to China again, and tariff talks go well, and then this thing does something that just rockets higher. So from a daily trend perspective, it's in a downtrend here, right? If you can just look at this series of higher or lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. However, we're trying to flip trend here after this massive green bar takes out this prior pivot, and now we're trying to put in a higher low off of here. So for me, longs are on the table back over 105.53, targeting 115.16. So that was just this last lower high right here after this big spike bar, which ends up being right around 115. So if we can come up and do something, so essentially we're like this, we're downtrending, and now we're flipping. Now we're trying to come back, and now we're trying to set that higher low right here, which is this region right here. Now, if we just sell off and keep trending lower, then I'm not interested. But if we can show some sort of momentum and strength on a daily bar that looks like this and then get follow through this week, 115 is a reasonable target here this week on NVIDIA. And then, Tesla. And I want to preface this. It has earnings, but I'm really open to both sides of this just because of how narrow this is. So this base right here really reminds me of this base right here, which, okay, you could say these two bars don't look like that much, but this just ran from 250 to 290 in the matter of 2 days. So it ran 20% in 2 days, which is a big move. And now we're setting up something similar where we get a big move followed by a period of consolidation in this base with earnings. If we gap up over 260, I do think it really puts us on the table for a nice rally higher. Now, on the flip side to that, below 230.82 breaks this wedge, and instead of getting a big breakout like these 2 days right here, I think we see some strong selling here to the downside. So watching how this earnings play pans out, a move that opens over 260 with strength, I do think we have room up into 286.97 and ultimately a macro target up into 300.64. So really, this base has been crucial. From the point of being so expensive from premiums, anybody who took this during these days is likely trapped, and not trapped, but they got decayed on heavily. I think we can get some volatility expansion on this. Earnings will be that catalyst, and if we can get over 260, that is going to be my watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know down below what you are watching. Thank you.